Welcome to the Franchise Woman Podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships forged. I'm Rebecca Monet, CEO and Chief Scientist at Zoracle Profiles, along with my co-host, community advocate, speaker, author, and entrepreneur, Tracy Kawa. Our special guest today is Brad Wahl. As Chief Brand Officer at the Learning Experience, Brad leads a cross-functional marketing team in bringing compelling brand stories to life while developing and implementing strategic actions that inspire and engage with key audiences, amplifying the overall image of the brand, increasing the awareness and the value of the brand, and build a unified culture around the brand. Brad has over 30 years of experience in brand marketing across traditional and digital marketing channels. Prior to joining the Learning Experience, he served as Vice President of Marketing for several well-known brands throughout the country, including Cracker Barrel, Kirkland's, and Crystal Company. Brad, Sir Brad, welcome to the show.
Thank you, ladies. Excited to be here.
Yeah, wow. You have a tremendous history and background in marketing. You're currently working with the Learning Experience, who we understand they are making a tremendous impact in the community. Have you always been attracted to companies that make a difference like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd certainly like to believe that every company that I've been a part of has had a focus on having an impact. As a marketing and brand guy, my priority typically has been to find a brand that has a unique differentiating position. But also it's always been a really, really big positive to find brands that are making an impact on their local communities in some way or another. And certainly that's what attracted me to the Learning Experience 5.5 years ago when I joined here. And I will say that I've never been a part of a brand that's had more of an impact than we are right now.
Wow.
It's interesting because the Learning Experience, the focus is not just on making a difference in that child's life. You have a bigger mission in mind. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's a great point, in that I think when you think of the early childhood education industry, the easy thought is, sure, we're focused on the children. They are the students. They're the ones that come through the door every day. And from a brand perspective, that is absolutely our focus. Even our positioning is recognizing that the child is our customer, and the way we set up our brand is very focused on that, a very fun and joyful environment. However, we also truly recognize that our real mission and our real purpose is beyond the children themselves. It's on the families. And for families, a happy child is a happy family at the end of the day. And a happy child and a happy family creates amazing communities. And for us, that community is certainly the families that are around our schools, but our community is also the teachers and the staff that are in our schools, our employees that are here at our world headquarters, just everyone that has the opportunity to be reached by the Learning Experience brand is our true target audience, beyond just the children themselves.
I love that. It's such a warm, embracing
Ripple effect, right?
right?
Yeah, it really comes from a little bit just that overall philosophy that says, hey, if we can impact the children and then we can impact the families, that snowball effect that is created as we create not just academically and educationally developed children, but children who can have an impact by learning things like kindness and manners and just healthy lifestyles. And there are so many other life lessons that can be taught. And that's part of really our focus and our commitment to that community impact. Starts with the children, gets to the parents and the rest of the families, and just snowballs from there.
Wow. Kindness. We're teaching kindness in a world where people are getting meaner and meaner on social media and in person. It was something we used to just model, right? And kids would learn by example, but there's not a lot of great examples out there, as there were, in my days. So to teach this wonderful attribute of kindness,
Yeah.
imagine how contagious that would be in, like you said, in a family or in a community.
Yeah, one of the things that's great about our brand also is our approach to that very thing. We, as I said before, we're focused on the child is our customer. And so it all starts for us with characters. We use fun characters to teach the children and create a joyful environment. And when you talk about kindness and manners, we have a little raccoon. Her name is Penny Polite. And again, just
Oh,
as you were saying, just think about how much more engaged children will be because they know this little raccoon named Penny Polite, and she's teaching them about coming to the table and manners and politeness and being kind. And then parents start to understand, well, hey, who's Penny? And I love it when I go to one of my schools and I hear one of the parents say, now, wait a minute, what would Penny Polite do at this moment right now? That's when you see, again, getting back to just that impact. And then when you go into the communities and the kids start talking about and sharing, well, who's Penny Polite? Well, she teaches me to be kind. She teaches me to treat everybody the same. She teaches me and just recognize that everybody's unique and different, and that's okay. And we do that with so many characters throughout our brand, including Grace and Charity, who are our dogs that teach you about philanthropy.
That's so awesome. That's so great. I'm thinking to myself, it's so amazing to teach kids about, kindness, because also ultimately it helps them to grow up, not just thinking about themselves, but how they can extend beyond themselves to others.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to, sharing happiness, spreading happiness in the world. So before we get too far away from you, I would love to bring this back to you for a minute. Tell us, Sir Brad of Happyville, how did you get your name? I love this.
Well, Sir Brad of Happyville really came about here at the learning experience, just as, while I'm the chief brand officer, I would be referred to as my number one priority is the chief happiness officer. And, part of our brand culture is to make sure, whether it's in our schools or in any of our offices here at our world headquarters, is about creating a joyful environment. And in the schools, that's for a joyful environment where the children are happy to learn, play, and grow. But those words of joyful and happiness are something that I started 5 years ago here internally, of just, hey, that's not just how we teach, that's our culture. And for me, I would hope that the reason that was given to me is because I've always just had a lifelong passion and desire to recognize the happy moments and to live a life of focusing on the opportunity to create moments of happiness wherever possible. I come from a philosophy that was taught to me by my dad, is just to focus so much on the moments that we have, and the opportunities to be happy should always outweigh any negativity in our life. We just can't afford to be negative when we really should be focused on that opportunity to be happy. My dad taught me early on about a statement that just has stuck with me for so long, that winning isn't worth not being happy. And it goes back to just an early focus on sports for me, whether it was in baseball or football, or even on the golf course when I was very young. My father always instilled in me that at the end of the day, happiness is what matters. Making sure that those that are around me see a person who is happy. Those are the types of people they'll want to hang around with me. And he would really put me in situations a lot where if I was negative or I wasn't happy, he would pull me aside in a very polite way, say, listen, if you're so focused on winning or being the best or never making a mistake that you can't be happy about it, then I've got you in the wrong environment. And it really helped me focus on enjoy the moment in everything that I do, not just sports when I was a young kid. And I think that that's carried through into the type of person that I am today, the type of leader that I am today. I want to make sure that our culture is one of happiness, because what I do know is this: the happier a group of employees and workers are, the more likely they are to complete the task than when they're negative.
Boom, right? Mic drop at that one. This it's so true. I like how your father taught you this through life experiences. I'm thinking about my granddaughters. My one granddaughter had a volleyball game this weekend and she lost. And her team was a mess. And she pouted and sulked for a couple hours afterwards. And I'm like, now it's not fun for me, right? And never mind, it's no longer fun for you. But your father was very clear in his instruction and in the moment instructions of, if winning is all it's about and it's not about you being happy through the process, then maybe this isn't the right sport for you or the right event for you.
Yeah, I think a lot of that even was he taught me, he never taught me that winning was bad. He never taught me that. He always taught me to strive for success, but only if it didn't sacrifice being happy. And I live my life that way, and everything that I do, and certainly a part of the business approach that I have is that, listen, we're going to be successful, but we're going to be successful because we're happy and we're enjoying every moment along the way. And it's one of the great things about being here with the learning experiences. How can you not smile when I've got blue elephants and crazy purple haired lions and just wonderful characters every day? And then you think about the impact that you're having on children and families along the way. It breeds happiness.
I just had this thought that it sounds like your dad identified something in you early on. It sounds to me like he probably recognized that you have this incredibly competitive nature and an incredibly passionate spirit, which the two together can either implode or they can be used as a force for good. So where do you think that all has been shaped or channeled into marketing and branding and messaging and happiness?
Yeah, well, I think you use a great word. I would say it's that word passionate, right? It is that drive to succeed comes from a passion to be successful, but being able to do it in a way that I feel good about and that I can smile because I can see the impact that we're having. And I think that's always just been something, because you're right. My dad, I know, recognized very early on that I was competitive and that when I got into something, I wanted to be successful. But that balance of, hey, drive is great, but you have to enjoy it, because you'll implode if the passion drives negativity around you. And again, I think that passion to succeed, but I'd almost say, I'm old enough now. The success to me comes in the impact on those around me, whether that's as a parent, or as a manager of people. My passion for success now is to see them succeed and almost try and carry forward that same philosophy of, I want them to succeed, but I want them to enjoy the moment. I want them to celebrate the success, but I also want to celebrate when we fail. And what I mean by that is celebrate that we gave it everything that we did. Celebrate that we were passionate about it. The reality is, not all times are you successful in achieving the goal. That's okay, as long as you drove and worked hard to get there. And you should be able to, at the end of it, say, you know what, we didn't quite reach our goal, but we had a lot of fun along the way. We impacted a lot of people along the way, and we're going to learn from it as we go forward. We're not going to get buried down into the negativity and really slow down.
Yeah. And we had an opportunity to do it together. That alone, win, lose, draw,
Right.
it's a togetherness thing that creates a stronger family, community, team, whatever, and then we can always dissect how we can do better. But it creates a bonding. Just out of curiosity, as a leader within the learning experience, what do you do to increase happiness and to create this kind of a culture there at corporate? And maybe all the way out to the franchisees, but what are you doing?
Yeah, well, it's a daily piece for me. What I would say is I'm just living my life the way that I believe my philosophy on life is, and that is to create moments of happiness continuously. Specifically, I walk around this office, and if I don't see somebody smiling, I'm asking them why. I want to know what's going on because I want to try and get them to a point to where they're smiling and happy. Part of that is, yes, because I believe people are much more effective in their role when they're happy about what they're doing. But listen, the focus on happiness doesn't mean there aren't sad moments. It's how you respond and react to them. We can have a day where people are a little down and walking around a little sluggish, and I'm the first one to grab the intercom or get on the intercom and just say things like, hey guys, for the next 12 seconds, we're going to have a moment of happiness and we're just going to smile. And I want everybody to go get those teeth out and get the smile going. And we're going to do it for 12 seconds, not a moment of silence. We go to moments of happiness, and we're going to do things like that. I'm the MC and host for our annual franchisee convention, and I believe that my role at convention, while it's certainly to deliver a lot of brand leadership elements, at the end of the day, I want them to see me as that person who is encouraging happiness in everything that we do. We have an internal slogan and an external slogan. TLE is a place where happy happens every day. It's on most of our logos, is happy happens here. And so my role is to make sure that people believe in, buy into it, and are committed to creating those places where happy happens every day. And that's at convention, that's back in their schools, that's back in their homes, that's here in our corporate office, is really helping people be in a culture, in an environment where happiness is happening each and every single day.
Wow.
I'm happy just listening.
Well, I'm happy that you're happy.
I mean, this to me is mind blowing because I'm thinking about the work that you and the learning experience do with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And there's no greater way to make that impact of happiness than, in a situation where a child is sick. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, our partnership with Make-A-Wish is one that I just think is so perfect and connects both of our missions to have a positive impact on the lives of children, their families, and the communities that we serve. It is so perfect. And it also aligns, however, with, as we were talking earlier, our brand is about teaching life lessons. And one of those core life lessons for us, along with kindness and just children who understand manners and diversity, but it's also teaching that life lesson of philanthropy. Each and every day in our schools, through our characters, Grace the Greyhound and Charity Chihuahua, who are the cutest little dogs you've ever seen. If you can imagine a giant greyhound and a tiny little chihuahua there. But they're focused on making sure that children not just learn the word philanthropy, but they understand what it means to be philanthropic. And yes, even at the age of 3 years old, we're teaching them to say philanthropic and to understand what that means about giving and being charitable and giving of your time and spreading the news about, listen, there are people and there are children who are in need and aren't as well off as many of our students are. And so just teaching a child to have a heart of caring and giving is so important for us. Well, that aligns so well with Make-A-Wish. And a couple of times a year, we put a specific focus on not just teaching philanthropy, but connecting it in with all of these amazing wish children of Make-A-Wish. And we get the opportunity not only to teach our children about Make-A-Wish and create more awareness, which again, through the snowball effect, is we're teaching the children, but we're also developing awareness with the parents, and then they're having an impact on their communities. And we do it every year in the month of April. We have a fundraising event for the entire month where we get the children really focused on how can we raise money specifically to support all of these amazing Wish children. And so we did that this past April. We raised over $1.5 million across the country this year alone through our 300 schools in the US and our one school in the UK, of everything from kids bringing in their little plastic bags with pennies that they had from their piggy banks. And those are the stories that you hear that, again, how can you not have a smile on your face when you see a 2-year-old walk in the door with a bag with maybe 10 pennies in it and literally saying to their teacher, hey, here's my change for grace and charity to give to Make-A-Wish. I want to help grant a wish for a Make-A-Wish child. And then you just boil that up and the snowball effect of it turns into $1.54 million. I mean, if you use the average cost of a wish, that's over 300 wishes being granted to those children. But the other thing that I love to talk about is that when we're granting those wishes to the children, one of the things that I love about Make-A-Wish is it doesn't just impact the child. Certainly the child is the one who has the wish and the focus is on their situation, but we get a chance to have an impact on the families. If you've ever had the opportunity to see and hear from a Make-A-Wish child, the family is always right there, and the parents especially, to hear them talk about how that wish for their child was a blessing and a moment of happiness for them. It allowed them to, even if it was for hours, even if it was for a day, it allowed them to step away from being the parent of a child who is struggling, and they have to drop everything they're doing as a parent and focus on their child. They don't get a chance to focus on themselves. And these wishes that are granted are blessing the parents in just a moment to step away and enjoy, whether it's a trip to Disney World or going and meeting a celebrity or any of the many wishes that are granted out there, to see the parents so thankful for that opportunity to forget about the negativity that's going on with their children at that point, again, is coming back to creating that moment of happiness for that parent where they don't think anymore about the negativity and the challenges that are going on with their child's health or the doctor's bills or any of the other things that are going on. And then by doing that and impacting those parents and letting them tell their story, again, that snowballs out into, now you got the community who's going, wow, how powerful was that moment of happiness? And it just gets everybody to recognize there's these moments of happiness that can truly create a better place for all of us and a better community. And we were just so blessed this year to be able to raise $1.54 million. I so look forward to it each and every year to have an impact with a group like Make-A-Wish.
Wow.
I'm glad that you pointed out that not only does this create a beautiful memory for the family, but the impact is bigger than just the child, who of course the Make-A-Wish Foundation is focused on, but it gives the parents a moment just to be parents and to be with their children and to smile and to be happy and to encounter this beautiful thing, to provide their children something that maybe they themselves weren't able to do. It is now being provided. I'm curious, Sir Brad of Happyville, when you say the children that are in this character development program are bringing their 10 pennies and they're raising funds, how are we messaging that? I know we're teaching philanthropy through the Greyhound and through the Chihuahua, but how are we messaging specifically the Make-A-Wish, where they get excited about it and they want to participate?
Yeah, see, that's one of the things that is so just, especially in today's digital age. But when you see a child who gets to understand and hear from a wish child, That's one of the most powerful
Sure.
messaging moments when you can see a 3-year-old listening to a 5-year-old talk about their medical challenges or what they're going through. We do that by it's the partnership with Make-A-Wish that is so just perfect, is that they have children that have gone through challenges and wishes. They have children who are waiting for their wish to be granted. And their partnership allows us to bring those stories down to our kids. And they're able to really just hear the stories of what those children are going through at that point. And so that gets the children not just to, hey, I learned the word philanthropy, but they start to register a little bit more and go, wow, there's another kid like me. And it sounds like they've had a tough time. I really want to help that child. And that's one of the things that with all of our schools, we really focus on the children granting wishes for children, not just raising money. That's a very specific and intentional thing that we teach, is that raising money by itself isn't enough. It's why are you raising the money? And so we put the focus on help grant wishes for these children. In fact, our theme this year was let's grant wishes. It wasn't let's raise a lot of money. Our schools, while we get very excited about the fact that we raised $1.5 million, what they focus on is we granted over 300 wishes this year. That's the powerful piece that allows the kids to connect into it, and they understand that it's Make-A-Wish that they're partnering with to be able to help do this for those children. And then that certainly, again, kids, families, and communities, the more the kids understand. And again, they're all walking around in t-shirts that say, let's grant wishes. And it's got grace and charity on it, but it's also got the Make-A-Wish logo on it. And so they're understanding the story about an organization like Make-A-Wish and that connection back to those children. That goes through then, and the parents start to understand more the awareness of what is Make-A-Wish about, gets them to get more passionate about it. They want to grant wishes for kids. And, from there, it evolves. Our teachers and staff in all of our schools, they get so passionate about it as well. They're all out there raising money. They're paying $5 to wear jeans to work one day or to dress up as their favorite TLE character, all because they want to help grant wishes for these wish children and really see the impact that they can have.
You raised such an amazing point, because I started thinking, my mind went back in the day to when I was in elementary school, and we used to bring home these envelopes that had a flyer inside and check off if you want to purchase this chocolate or that baseball hat or whatever it was. And I honestly don't remember connecting that fundraising to philanthropy. Don't remember that at all. And I applaud the work that you're doing, because I really can see how you're raising those future generations of philanthropists. This is really incredible.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why it's something that we're so passionate about. Is, again, it connects into what we're doing as a brand, is that we're not, every company can go do fundraising, and fundraising to us is more just a result of what we're teaching. We're really trying to teach children to have a heart of philanthropy, to have a heart that for the rest of their lives, that they recognize that they're blessed and that there are others who are not as blessed as they are. And they have the power to change other people's lives. They can be kind, they can be charitable, they can give a message of hope. And that is so much more powerful. Listen, I'm elated about raising $1.5 million and granting 300 wishes. But I will tell you that puts the real smile on my face is the 36,000 children and their families and those communities that now have just a little bit more of a philanthropic mindset, that they're going to live the rest of their lives with understanding the power of what you can do when you've got a mindset that says, I can create happiness by being philanthropic. You don't have to do it in raising money all the time. Sometimes it's just in giving your time. Sometimes it's just in being kind. Sometimes it's just in recognizing that everybody isn't the same and being okay about that. That's the real power of the impact that we have, that why we partner with organizations like Make-A-Wish along the way, is because philanthropy is a life lesson. It's not an activity.
That's great.
Boom.
Is
You
great.
know, the scientist in me, the behavioral scientist in me is going nuts here, because there are neurological, physiological, emotional benefits
Yeah.
through this kind of behavior, whether it's treating someone kindly, being polite, or in this case, acting in philanthropic ways. The brain releases chemicals, dopamine chemicals, when we smile and when we're
Yeah.
happy. And that allows us to take more risks, and it allows us to feel more capable of doing things, right? It builds our confidence. And then this philanthropic side builds the chemical oxytocin, where we sense a belonging, not just to the school that I'm learning all these from, but to something bigger, the world, the community. So these chemicals are releasing in the brain that not only helps the world in what we're doing, but it helps us. It actually is therapeutic emotionally and physiologically. So the benefits are long-term. And those of you that don't care about this, ignore this 30 seconds that I talk about it, but there are so many benefits to this. Okay, guys, we are at the top of the hour. Tracy, I'm going to go to you. And then don't forget to ask how we get hold of Brad. But I want you to do a wrap up for us of what we learned today and what you're walking away from.
Oh my gosh. I think the biggest thing for me, and there was so much to unpack here. And I'm actually talking it through and formulating it, like, as I'm saying it. I think we just need more people like Brad in the world. I really do. And I think it's because, like you said a little earlier, Rebecca, when we were communicating originally with Brad before we started the show, how, there's a lot going on in the world. And we as people, we really do have a tendency to focus on the things that aren't going so right and the negative. And, there's a hurricane here in Florida. Like I could have canceled and focused on the hurricane. And instead, like, we're talking about happiness.
We're talking about happiness.
I'm not even thinking about the hurricane. Perfect example. But just on an everyday basis, imagine what the world would be like, as we multiply Brad, right? As we adopt these philosophies, these thoughts, these theories. And, I applaud Brad's dad for recognizing things in you and for channeling them in a way that has brought so much positivity and happiness into the world.
Yeah.
That's my thought. And how do people get a hold of you?
How do people get hold of you, Brad? And learn more
First
about
off, thank you so very much for the very kind words. And I don't know that I've ever heard anybody say we just need more Brads in the world. So
Brad. And Brad's
thank you for that. You can get a hold of me. I'm at the Learning Experience. My email address is bwahl@tlecorp.com. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn as well. So I'd love to connect with anybody. And the email, LinkedIn, either way, would love to connect with how we can all help create more moments of happiness around the world.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Brad, for carving out time for us. We learned so much. This has really impacted me quite deeply, to be thinking in this way. How can we create moments of happiness? Why not an all day of happiness? The rest of you listening in to the Franchise Woman podcast, where passion and purpose collide. Clearly, that's what's going on with Sir Brad of Happyville. And notice what it brings about. It brings about change. It brings about joy. It brings about impact. So find ways where your passion and purpose can collide, because it's worth it, not just for yourself, but for the world. So we'll see you again next week for another episode.